Hello, I want to thank the members of the media for joining us today. Thanks for being here for this important update on the eclipse. 4 weeks from today, a total solar eclipse will darken the skies across Buffalo for 4 minutes. While we want this once-in-a-lifetime cosmic event to be enjoyed, we are asking city residents to take this rare event seriously, to plan ahead, be patient, and be prepared. Joining me from city government are Police Commissioner Joseph Gramaglia, Emergency Services Manager Thomas Luby, Fire Commissioner William Ronaldo, DPW Commissioner Nate Martin, Parking Commissioner Ray Wagner. Also in attendance from the community, providing their expertise, Dr. James D. Reynolds, Professor and Chair at the Ross Eye Institute, Chief Academic Officer of the Buffalo Public Schools, Ann Botticelli, representing School Superintendent Dr. Tanja Williams. Representing the Buffalo Eclipse Consortium, we have Dr. Kevin Williams, Associate Professor of Geosciences and Director of the Whitworth-Ferguson Planetarium at Buffalo State University, and Patrick Kaler, President and CEO of Visit Buffalo Niagara. Imagine this for a second. Hundreds of thousands of fans leaving a Bills game all at the same time. Imagine what traffic congestion would be like. That's what our area could be facing on the day of the eclipse, Monday, April 8th, just 1 month from today. With crowd estimates of 500,000 to 1 million converging on the Buffalo area, residents must take this event seriously and prepare in advance, much like we would for any other major event taking place in our city. We want everyone to enjoy this historic moment, but do so in a smart and safe manner. Today, we are urging residents to plan ahead and take necessary precautions. Prepare well in advance. Going to a grocery store, picking up a prescription, or going to the gas station might be difficult on the day of the eclipse, so do these things in advance. We recommend that people get what they need to get days in advance so they don't potentially get caught in traffic jams. Also, reschedule appointments if you can. City residents should plan for and anticipate heavy traffic congestion and possibly gridlock on April 8th. Potentially, throughout the entire day, you will see heavy traffic and into the evening. We know traffic congestion has been an issue from our analysis of previous eclipse events. EMS services may be delayed. Make sure you have a sufficient quantity of medication on hand in your home. So again, we want to stress the importance of having your medications, whatever you need to get from the pharmacy, from the grocery store. Do it days in advance if you can do that. With that in mind, we recommend that residents view the eclipse from their homes if you can. Your view at home will be the same as any other place. There's no need to travel or go to an elevated area. The eclipse will be viewable wherever you are. If you plan on attending a viewing party, we suggest you attend one that is in walking distance, whether it be at a park, at a restaurant, or some other location. It could be better to stay close to home and to walk. If you need to drive to an event like the Outer Harbor or Sail and Field, the message is simple: leave early and be prepared to stay late and potentially a long and slow drive home. Pack extra food and water in your vehicle be sure you have a full tank of gas, because you could be stuck out there for a long time if we get the amount of traffic that some are estimating. Preparation is key. To businesses in the city of Buffalo, we are strongly urging you to have a plan in place for your employees. Obviously, this is a big event for Buffalo's hospitality and tourism industry. With so many visitors expected, we want businesses to take advantage of this opportunity, but do that in a smart and safe way. Keep in mind that many Eclipse chasers are expected to be here a few days before and a few days after the event. So start your preparations now, businesses. And I know from talking to a lot of businesses in the city of Buffalo that businesses have started their preparations early. And I think our businesses in the city are going to be prepared. But this is just another reminder. The Buffalo non-dining and non-retail business owners, you might consider having your employees work from home on April 8th or close altogether. Now again, that's a suggestion for non-dining and non-retail businesses. One final major message. Be aware that cell service on that day is expected to be greatly affected, meaning that people might not have cell service at all for extensive periods of time on April 8th. When there are too many people in an area, the cell towers do get jammed. Please be sure to talk to your family members about this. Maybe set up a meeting place for family in the event of an emergency. There's more information on the city's Eclipse webpage about how families can go about setting up their emergency plans in the event that they need one. The bottom line is this: Monday, April 8th will not be an ordinary day in Buffalo. We are urging everyone to take this event seriously, to start planning now if you haven't already. It will be a wonder. It should be fun, but it is better to plan. Now, here to talk more about our Eclipse public safety efforts, our whole list of speakers. We'll start with Buffalo Police Commissioner Joe Gramaglia.
Thank you, sir. So I want the public to be aware that we have been planning for this on the emergency services first responder side for quite some time. There's been numerous meetings, not just within the Buffalo Police Department, the Buffalo Fire Department, but our county partners, the state side, and even our federal partners. So we have a full operation plan that's in the works. We've been putting together how we're going to staff up for that day. There will be extra police staffing on that day. We will have specialized units out in various areas. So again, as the mayor said, you're going to potentially have a problem with traffic, and we urge everyone to be very, very patient. We will respond to areas to help ease congestion of traffic to the best that we can. As I said, we don't quite know what to expect, but we're planning for the unexpected. Part of helping to get through some of that is we are unveiling today. We just took delivery of 6 brand new UTVs. One more is just about done. It's at the shop being finalized, so we have 5 behind us. These are going to help us get around traffic congestion, get around issues, help respond to any emergencies. The fire department has theirs out as well. Again, as the mayor said, we're going to be out there. We have a plan. Our emergency operations center is going to be fully operational. It is going to be staffed with various levels of law enforcement, government, and emergency services personnel, and we are going to be out there. So the mayor also pointed out the cell coverage, and I think it's important to continue to point that out. You know, you've been to a Bills game, you've been to ball drop at midnight, and you can't get a connection. So plan ahead for that. We also, on that congestion, on a potential congestion on the ride home, make sure your cell phone is as charged as it can be. If you have an extra battery source for that or a phone charger in your car, bring that. But we urge patience. If you are stuck in a traffic jam, we urge patience. If you have the ability to take the Metro rail, if you have the ability to walk to an event, then we certainly urge that. If it's a nice day, take your bicycle as well. That will help you get around. So find alternate modes of transportation. And as the mayor said again, I'll reiterate, if you are at home, think the best option is to view from home, but if you are going to go to one of those events, plan your process and how you're going to get there and how you're going to leave. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next, we'll hear from the city's Emergency Services Manager, Thomas Luby.
Good morning. Our planning continues for the Eclipse as it's coming up. We're working with our interjurisdictional partners and still continue to find successful bits of information that helps us focus where we need to do based on what they're coming on their contingency. So as the work group gets bigger and bigger, the interagencies contribute a lot to it, and we share things across the federal, state, and federal government and other partners through this process. We're continuing to outreach to communities, working with the block clubs and get the residents and the community better prepared for things that they can do and how to be successful in this event and take it in as the bottom line is being safe and enjoy the event and what is going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Buffalo Fire Commissioner William Ronaldo.
Commissioner, thank you. All right, thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. Commissioner Gramalia, the Mayor, and Mr. Luby touched on a lot of items already. I'm going to emphasize a couple more of them. One of them is the medication issue. So I'd ask anyone who has a pre-existing medical condition to make sure they have enough of their prescribed medication on them, either in the vehicle or wherever they're viewing the Eclipse, whatever location they happen to be at. Just have enough of that on you. Full gas tank, of course, as well, because as we said, there's going to be we anticipate a lot of traffic congestion. And along those lines, from Buffalo Fire Department point of view, our major focus is going to be on freedom of movement, being able to get where we need to go, when we need to get there, and keep our response time to a reasonable level with the traffic congestion that we're anticipating. To that end, we have our water rescue unit behind me. They'll be staged appropriately so they can deploy onto the water. We're also anticipating a large number of boaters that are going to be out that day. We also have our UTVs. There's three of them behind us. We have a fourth one back at Special Operations. All of those will be deployed as well. Once again, to maneuver through some of our more congested areas. We don't anticipate too many issues in the city itself, but we're talking about areas like Furman Boulevard, Tift, Outer Harbor, places like that where it may be a little more difficult to get to. So that's major. So we're looking at more of a mobile response with these vehicles, as well as our frontline apparatus as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Next, we'll hear from Dr. James Reynolds, Professor and Chair at the Ross Eye Institute. Doctor, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my pleasure to be here today. One of the things I want to start with and echo is exactly one of the major messages of the mayor, and that's planning. And we're hearing about planning where you're going to be, planning for your medication, planning for your emergency plan, planning all those kind of things that lead up to and exiting from your viewing space. But I want to emphasize you must also plan for your engagement that day with the sun. You have an appointment, and that appointment must be planned for. You must plan for yourself. You must plan for your children. I especially want to mention you must plan for your children. Now, why is that? Because there is no safe viewing of the sun with the naked eye. You must view the sun through special eclipse glasses or via indirect methods. We want to enjoy this. We're good Buffalonians. We're going to be good neighbors. We are going to embrace these million visitors, but we want to be better safe than sorry. A lot of this is common sense, but let me just give you some numbers to quantify the risk. In a typical bright office space or a bright school space, the energy level from the sun can be measured at about 400 lux. I don't need to explain what lux are. Trust me on that one. But if the number is 400, what is the sun's energy? It's 130,000 lux, 300 times what you're getting in an office space. That's a huge amount of energy, and that energy can, over a very short duration, produce a photochemical burn of your retina. So again, you must be better safe than sorry. Lastly, I want to touch on why none of us are having any solar damage to our eyes. Because when I try to look at the sun, I immediately have to look away. We could all do that on cue now. But up we go and away we look. That's our aversion reflex. But as that sun begins to be covered by the moon, that aversion reflex is going to go down because now we're covering 50% of the sun, now we're covering 80% of the sun, now we're covering 90% of the sun. But with only 10% of the sun still visible, that energy level is 13,000 compared to that 300 or 400 in the office. I just want to use those numbers so commonsensically people understand the huge amount of energy that comes at you from the sun. So what is the safe way to view this?
Right up top. Right on your phone.
Ah, here they are right here. Okay, you gotta have your props ready. So again, look at the sun, immediately look away. Put the Eclipse glasses on and plan for this, especially with your children. How are you going to put them on? How are you going to keep them on? I am completely blind now. I see no one. I see nothing. No objects, no person. I look up at the sun and I see this very faint yellow globe. Perfectly safe. So get the glasses. The glasses must be certified by the International Organization of Standards, so-called ISO certified. They are supposed to be 12312-2 lenses, and they will protect you. Final thing I'm going to say, there are 4 minutes of totality when the sun is completely covered. Totality is when you can view the sun with your naked eye, because there is no sun to be seen, it's covered. I don't suggest you view it for the whole 4 minutes. View it for the inside 2 minutes. Be safe. Plan for your viewing. Plan for your children's viewing. Very important. Thank you today, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds.
Here you go, Doc.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reynolds. Now I see that some of you are wearing cool sunglasses. Sunglasses will not work for viewing the eclipse. You need those glasses like Dr. Reynolds just showed you. So, if you got a cool pair of Men in Black looking sunglasses, those won't do the trick for you. Get the specialized eclipse glasses to protect your eyes. Our next speaker, and this is a fun one. I remember being a child and there being an eclipse when I was a kid, and how much fun it was for kids learning about that, what causes that. Our next speaker is the Chief Academic Officer for the Buffalo Public Schools, Ann Botticelli. She's representing School Superintendent Dr. Tanja Williams.
Good morning. Again, I'm Ann Botticelli. I'm the Chief Academic Officer for the Buffalo Public Schools, and I'm here on behalf of Superintendent Dr. Tanja Williams. So I get to have the fun part of the conversation today. Our students have been learning about the eclipse. We've created lessons. They're being delivered in classrooms. Buff State has graciously allowed many of our students to go use the observatory and experience what this means for our district. We will be closed, so our kids will be home with you. And parents, this is the perfect opportunity to learn as a family. You can quickly Google what a solar eclipse is and talk to your students about it, and hopefully they'll be able to teach you a little bit because they've been talking about it in school. Thanks to the generous donation of Buffalo State and M&T, our students are coming home with their own eclipse glasses, so they'll be prepared when they go outside to watch the solar eclipse. So again, thank you. It was really wonderful. All of the kids are coming home with these in the next week or two. So again, the kids are excited. We've been talking about it at school. Many of them have gotten to visit the planetarium. This is a wonderful opportunity at home to have conversations with your students. Every science teacher in Buffalo is excited about this opportunity, and they are talking it up with the kids. So if you have any questions, please reach out to your student's school. And again, you should be looking for these glasses coming home soon. Thank you so much.
Well, speaking of the planetarium, representing the Buffalo Eclipse Consortium is Dr. Kevin Williams, Associate Professor of Geosciences and Director of the Whitworth Ferguson Planetarium at Buffalo State University. Dr. Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You've heard a lot today about planning, and it's really important to plan for everything that you've heard about today, the logistics, the safety. But I also want to talk a little bit about the excitement, right? We shouldn't get lost in the fear that we're going to have 1 million people visiting or that we're going to possibly hurt our eyes. All that is very important. But let me explain a little bit what's going to happen during the eclipse, because most people have not experienced a total solar eclipse. As the moon's shadow starts passing over us, it's important to remember that the eclipse isn't just those couple of minutes of totality. It lasts about 2.5 hours. Starting a little bit after 2 o'clock, we won't notice a lot. But as Dr. Reynolds was mentioning, with eclipse glasses, you'll be able to watch as more and more of the sun gets covered by the moon. Once we get to that time of 3:18, when totality starts, a few minutes before that, we'll start to notice the lighting of the sky changing just a little bit. The shadows will look different. We might notice the temperature starting to decrease. It's going to be otherworldly in some ways. As we get just a few seconds before totality, with our eclipse glasses, we'll be able to watch just the little last bits of the sun being blocked out by the moon, and we'll see what are called Bailey's beads, those last bits of the sun showing through the low areas on the moon. Once you're no longer able to see the sun through your eclipse glasses, then it's safe to take them off and look at totality. What you're going to see is a darkened sky. It will not be nighttime dark. You'll see sunset colors around the horizon, but as you look more in the direction of the covered sun, you'll see deeper and deeper blues and purples. And then you'll see the corona, that silky outer atmosphere of the sun, being blocked by the black disk of the moon. As you look around and your eyes get used to that darkness, you'll be able to see bright stars. You'll be able to see the planets Venus and Jupiter. They're going to be bright enough to see. So use that time not just to see, but also to experience totality, because it's more than just what we're going to see, it's what we're going to feel. You'll feel the temperature decrease 10 to 20 degrees. Listen to what you hear. If there are birds nearby, they'll probably stop making noise. But you might hear people starting to cheer and clap, being overcome by emotion as they see this rare, amazing celestial event. But as it's been mentioned, totality only lasts about 3 minutes and 45 seconds. We have to be prepared for totality to end. That's when we have to make sure we put our eclipse glasses back on for safety, or be looking away, looking at the sun indirectly. But then the eclipse is not over at 3:22. We have another hour and 10 minutes of partial phase as more and more of the sun is visible as the moon moves across it. And then around 4:32, that's when the eclipse is over for us in Buffalo for another 120 years. It's hard to put the experience of a total solar eclipse into words, so I want to just borrow from author and journalist David Barron. He's become a self-proclaimed eclipse evangelist. After seeing his first total solar eclipse, the way he described it was, a total solar eclipse is a primal, transcendent experience, the shutting off of the sun. He also said that he expected to have this interesting intellectual experience, and instead it was completely visceral. So what he does now is he goes around giving talks about eclipses to help people prepare, and he repeats advice that was given to him before he saw his total solar eclipse. He says you owe it to yourself to experience a total solar eclipse before you die. So I wish good weather to all of us here in Buffalo for April 8th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, talking about the tourism implications and the implications for our restaurants and retailers is Patrick Kaler, the president and CEO of Visit Buffalo Niagara.
Thank you, Mayor. April 8th, the occurrence of a total solar eclipse in Buffalo is a dream come true for a Convention and Visitors Bureau. We didn't have to go out to bid to lure this event to our community. We don't even have to advertise for people to come. Our hotels are already at full capacity almost, as well as commanding very high rates over multiple days. So this is going to have a major economic impact because of the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who will be coming to Buffalo and Western New York on April 8th, as well as the days leading up to and following April 8th. I have to applaud our community, our business community, our hospitality community for coming together to put together a wonderful opportunity of activities and events for people to experience, again, leading up to, on the day of, and the days after. We actually started booking our first group tour prior to the pandemic in 2017. This is how important these types of events are. Smith Travel Research actually equates a total solar eclipse event for a community such as Buffalo as almost our opportunity to host a Super Bowl, maybe even hosting a Taylor Swift concert. So we're very excited about the possibilities of what are going to be taking place on that day for our out-of-town visitors. But what's most important too is what's taking place today and hearing from Mayor Brown and his commissioners about keeping not only our residents safe, but our visitors safe. That's most importantly the paramount issue that we're looking at with having this type of an influx of people coming into our community. We want them to have a fantastic and enjoyable experience because we want them to come back in the future, but we also want them to have a safe experience. And so that's what's most important about what we're talking about today. Thank you.
And our final speaker is Department of Public Works Commissioner Nate Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. From my perspective, maybe a couple housekeeping items for the city of Buffalo, but the words that I want to use are cooperation, patience, and I think grace on that standpoint. First from a sanitation side, we will have sanitation and recycling that day. Some cooperation. We ask that all your totes are out at night. We're going to try to move through that really early that day and get off the streets as quickly as we can. So we want to maintain that city service for everybody on that Monday, so that's our plan. So a little cooperation to get everything out on Sunday night as normal. From another cooperative standpoint, our parks. So our parks are open for viewing. Won't be planned activities necessarily, but they're open for viewing. But please, when you go to a park, if you're walking to it or cycling to it, that's great. If you're driving to it, again, expect a lot of traffic potentially, but park in the designated parking areas. Don't park on the lawns, don't park on the fields. Try to maintain and keep on that hard space. If you're in a park, please try to stay off of those playing fields. All the ground is still going to be wet at that point in time of the year. Damage to those playing fields, whether it's a ball diamond or one of the athletic fields, could hamper some of the Buffalo Schools athletic events and other athletic events in the city that we are planning for. So a little cooperation there. No overnight parking, no camping, typical rules that in the parks that we want everybody to cooperate with. From a patience and grace standpoint, as we've heard, a lot of visitors are going to come to our area. So please follow rules of the road, but be patient because there are going to be a lot of people not familiar with our area, not familiar with the streets. Some of the subtleties of some of our roadways that we know about as residents and community members, they may not know. So have patience with drivers from out of the area or out of state if you see them, and some grace for your fellow drivers. But really be aware and present when you're driving or when you're walking or when you're cycling. There is going to be a distraction, look up in the sky, but please be safe when you're moving around any of the rights of ways when we have all those three together. So looking forward to enjoying the event certainly as well. Thank you very much, Mayor.
So Patrick Kaler, the president of Visit Buffalo Niagara, used a music reference. One thing to listen out for as we're getting closer and closer to the eclipse is a song by Bonnie Tyler, Total Eclipse of the Heart. You will probably be hearing that song quite a bit as we move closer to the eclipse actually taking place. We might be holding a contest to see how many people know all of the words to the song after this is all over. Listen, we want our residents and visitors to enjoy this special event. We want them to, though, enjoy it safely and smartly, which is why we're emphasizing planning. Again, I want to thank the members of the media for joining us today, and we'll open up to your questions. Mr. McKinley.
So considering the path of totality stretches 2,000 miles across the United States, and within that path of totality there are 31 million people living there, which means they don't have to travel. And for those who might decide to travel, there are an infinite number of spots along that line they can choose. So what makes you realistically expect that 1 million people might come to Buffalo, New York?
I'm going to have Dr. Williams answer that question.
I'd say that $1 million number, million person number is a higher limit, but you have to kind of plan for that because it could happen. Imagine that you have this, like you said, really long path of totality, and Buffalo is the place with the good weather, and it's cloudy in many of the other places. This is where people are going to come. Yes. And last April 8th, it was perfect weather. There were no clouds in the sky. So I think it's going to depend a lot on the weather, how many people come, but you have to prepare for it. And also, a lot of people want to come to a place to experience the eclipse where there are other things to do. And there are many great things to do here in Buffalo. So I think combining the activities, the culture, and the eclipse is the draw for Buffalo.
So the key, Dave, is always just being prepared as a community, and that's what this is all about.
Talk about walking that fine line between not making the eclipse become the apocalypse.
No, we can't make it the apocalypse. This is actually a fun event. It's a great event. It's as you heard from Ann Botticelli, this is a wonderful event for children. It's a learning opportunity for the children in our community. And the next time something like this will happen is 120 years from now. None of us will be here for the next time. So we should enjoy it. This is not the apocalypse, but we want to be prepared so people can enjoy it in a smart and safe way.
You got a rain date for the eclipse?
No. Any other questions?
Maybe more so for Commissioner Gramalia, but when you have a lot of people together, there is that worry that something possibly might happen. You talked about having a plan in place. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit more? Are you monitoring for any possible threats just in case?
Yeah, I mean, we're consistently monitoring for those. I mean, we've got large-scale events already. You've got, you've got the arena, you got hockey games, you've got in the summertime festivals. We're planning already for a week and a half from now. Actually, a week from now, the parades are coming up. Those are very large-scale events. We're used to doing that. We're used to planning those. Part of that is working with the intelligence community. Our chief of detectives is deeply embedded with the intelligence community nationwide. We look at all those, works with our federal partners in the state and the county as well. So we're all in touch on those things. So how do we plan for that? What do we do? You have to, and I hate to say this, you got to plan for the worst, hope for the best, but that hoping for the best doesn't mean that we're not staged up, staffed up. We're going to move our people around. We're going to have specialized units in. We're going to have mutual aid of other outside agencies right up through the federal level, some of their specialized units. So we're going to be in different areas if there are traffic problems that it's easier to get to. You don't stage in one spot. We're going to be staged in various locations. We want the community to, to rest assured that that we are monitoring everything, and we are planning extensively for this.
Do you have any overtime budgeted? Is it going to be all hands on deck? Because it seems to me your biggest problem might be, directing traffic to busier intersections.
So we're still looking at those numbers, and that's the tough part. We don't know. We're throwing some numbers around, and why are we throwing those numbers around? Because we're getting those from other locations that have had these in years past. So. You have to look at what's been done before. There's after-action reports. That's how you plan for the next event that comes up. So, the answer is we don't know, but we're also we're going to plan to have additional staffing in so that we can mobilize and get to areas that might be of a bigger congestion, a bigger issue. But that's why we keep urging patience. Just because there's a traffic jam or a spot that's gridlocked, it doesn't mean we're going to be able to clear that out in 5 minutes. You know, as the mayor said, you know, coming out of a Bills game or coming out of the back of the arena, you know that you've got to wait for intersections further up to get cleared out and what's causing that. We want to be able to respond to those. It still is going to take time, but we are going to move assets to, you know, to address those traffic concerns. I don't say all hands on deck because I still have to plan for staffing for the night shift, the next day shift, but there's going to be a lot of hands on deck.
I'll say there's a white paper put out by the University of Michigan that you might find very interesting from the 2017 Eclipse. We're actually pacing pretty much on par with that type of a research. We expected it to be at a sellout capacity. We know that we're at a sellout because some of our hotels now have such limited room availability that they're charging $1,000. So it's escalated as it's getting closer to that date. So we know that within our region that there are just so few hotel rooms available, as well as Airbnbs. I have the ability to go on and look at our overall inventory of Airbnbs on specific dates, and we're at capacity almost with our Airbnbs as well. So we're pretty much pacing right along with what happened in 2017. And 2017, the largest city that the Eclipse passed through was Nashville, Tennessee. This year, you've got Austin, Dallas, as Dave said, many larger cities, and Buffalo is part of that. Probably the largest city in comparison to Buffalo in 2017 was Kansas City. I've also been looking at the hotel rates in all of the hotels or the cities this year, and their rates are far more higher than Buffalo are as well. So we're really pretty much right on pace where Buffalo would be as a community, as a destination, in comparison with other cities across the country.
So the advice then, I know that with people trying to get hotels, maybe now they're starting to look more so into the Airbnb as an alternative. I mean, what advice do you have for those people that can't get a hotel? I mean, what's that landscape?
You probably should have started planning earlier, unfortunately.
Patrick, when's the last time we were at this capacity in our hotel?
This is something that we've never really experienced before, looking at historic, that we would be this close to 100% capacity. One example might be hosting NCAA. That's probably the closest that we've ever come, actually, in the past.
Hey, John, could you stick around for a second? I have a couple other
Dr. Reynolds?
Sure.
Come right up, Dr. Reynolds. Oh, off to the side, okay. Thank you very much, everybody. That concludes our news conference. Thank you.